Yo, bro, I think I had too much Hennessy, man. This Hennessy getting to me. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little smashed. I'm a little dressed. But we in the club, man. Oh. Yeah, they hate, but they broke though. And when it's time to pop, they have no show. Yeah, I'm pretty, but I'm loco. The loud got me moving slow-mo. Hey, yo, Tweety, what up?
Buy this car to drive to work to pay for this car. Buy this car to drive to work to work.
Welcome to YellBro Road. I am Jordan, and today, Jordan Peterson was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's going to tell us something about psychopaths within your movement or something, or the woke right, or whatever. I think it's like a barrage of borderline pseudo-intellectuals that are trying to make excuses for why Douglas Murray sucks ass. It's very weird. It's very bizarre. But before I get started, don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. Do it. Don't give your money to these fucking assholes, bro. Help someone out. Yeah? Fuck this bullshit. Fuck these guys. Nah. Alright. So, I'll be up front. Over the years, like the times I have paid attention to Jordan Peterson, I think has the most interesting ideas out there, as far as all the IDW. Because I don't know, I like things like psychology and philosophy and spirituality and shit like that. So I find a lot of stuff he says interesting. Right, and I don't think he's a Douglas Murray personally. I mean, once again, it won't be much of an arm twist to get me to think otherwise if you show me some evidence. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of shit out there, and the years I haven't been paying attention to this guy, I'm sure there's stuff about him that you have stored up, ready to go, ready to show me, to be like, okay, see, look, he's a cunt. Or he's a Douglas Murray. I'll be like, I'll say fair enough. I just haven't looked into the guy enough, at least as of recently. I know more of his past, lectures where he was like actually teaching in schools about psychology that I thought were interesting. And then maybe, who knows, maybe fame, money, bosses, culture warrioring. Maybe he shifted because of that. Maybe it melted his brain. Who knows? But as of this moment, I wouldn't call him a Douglas Murray yet. But I do find it interesting that we're about to talk about the quote-unquote woke right. Or, well, I guess, yeah, the wokesters of the right, and also the quote-unquote psychopaths of the right and left, or whoever, right? And it's like, it's interesting. Like, was this podcast planned like months ago? Or is everyone seeing what happened with Douglas Murray and they're all coming to his defense type shit? Is that what's happening here? Like, it's bizarre behavior. It's, I don't know. Like, they're trying to speak such proper English to us that we're just going to start believing what they're saying. Maybe that's what they're going for. But I'm not hearing such great argumentation for why we need to support a genocide. I'm not getting that argument. I'm not getting how it's not a genocide either. I'm not getting either one of those answers from any of these guys. It's like they just want us to just believe them. I think that's trash. Actually, before I play Jordan Peterson, let me play this guy, because once again, it's like they come out of the fucking woodworks. Like, who are these people? I don't know who this fucking guy is. Let me hear this.
Smith and Rogan are irked when Murray expresses his befuddlement that Smith has become a prominent voice in the debate about Israel and Palestine without ever having visited the Middle East. The shock at the idea that someone ought to see things with their own eyes before commenting on them is palpable.
I don't think that's the discussion now. Sure, you should try to get as much evidence as possible about an incident, right? About any incident. You try to forget about being in person or not being in person. It should be about having the most correct information at your hands right, at your disposal. So, for example, you could be someone maybe named like Shane Smith, right? And you can get a trip to North Korea where they show you how beautiful their shopping malls are, their bakeries are, the food is awesome, the people are always smiling. Meanwhile, you might not actually be getting the real essence of what's happening in North Korea or what has happened in North Korea. Not saying it's not that way. I'm just saying I think a lot of people, I think even the Douglas Murray types would even say, like, oh, well, that was a propaganda tour to get you to think positively about North Korea and not be afraid of it so that when you go home, you tell everyone how awesome North Korea is. That could be a possible thing. Or like Tucker Carlson's trip to Russia, right? Where he can give you all the positive views of Russia because you saw all the beautiful shit. Maybe there's bad things happening that he didn't get to see. Well, maybe there's some journalists who has some on-the-ground reporting that can report back to us, and thus we may know more than Shane Smith knows more than someone like Shane Smith or Tucker Carlson know about North Korea or Russia, because maybe these guys that did the journalistic legwork might have a better understanding of what's actually happening there, not just the nice things they want you to see. You know what I'm saying? So maybe, once again, in the argument between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray wasn't speaking from a position of like, damn, I've been all around the region, I've met everyone there, I fucking see all the incidences that are happening. Maybe he claims that, but once again, there are blatant war crimes happening there that are like caught on camera, like caught in 8 different angles caught. And somehow he didn't see it. So maybe Douglas got the Shane Smith treatment. He got to see the nice side. Or, doesn't have to be nice, maybe he saw one side's particular position and what they want you to see. Now, personally, this is me being nice, by the way, because personally, I don't believe that. I think this guy is a full-blown shill. I think Douglas Murray I'm talking about. I think he's a full-blown shell. I think he's full of shit. And I think he's a Douglas Murray. I think he's that guy. I think he's like a viper type of person. Without teeth, though. He's fucking gums. With pseudo-venom. But he wants to be a viper. And he wants to intellectually destroy people in front of him, most likely. So, but, once again, to be nice, let's go with the idea that maybe Douglas was embedded within the Israeli army, the IDF, or IOA, or whatever the fucking call it, IOF. Embedded with those guys and the government of Israel. And only saw their side of things. In which case, if there's someone who's maybe a journalist on the ground there and reports back to on the internet somewhere, then we have access to, or maybe they even work for a Western publication and they publish their work through there and we get to see it. It's possible that maybe if you considered those stories, you might have a better picture, a more clear view of what's happening over there. Possibly. So no, it's not about going there. It's about having the most information on hand. And in my humble opinion, if you take Douglas Murray's position in regards to that, right, him going over there, right, well, he's just walking the party line, in my humble opinion, to where what you're actually getting is just statements from the fucking state. From the Israeli state, from the U.S. state. Like, you can get that information. That's already the official line. You already get those narratives from those guys, from the official government bodies. You already get those. What you don't get, seemingly, is the human suffering that's happening there. It usually takes other people to go figure that shit out. Journalists that go on the ground in these war zones. Journalists that are from the fucking area reporting back. Even let's say, an Israeli guy and a Palestinian guy joining forces to make a movie that wins a fucking Oscar. Maybe that's a better point of view. So, once again, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. I mean, obviously you want, as many things you can get your hand on. But if it's all bullshit, then you're out of luck, right? Just like if I go there in person and I get fed bullshit, I'm actually you're lower on the what's the term? Vantage point. You're at a lower vantage point than someone who's 3,000 miles away on their fucking iPhone, watching a journalist who's on the ground giving you the more correct story. So hopefully that makes sense logically. With all that said, let's watch this video. Let's watch it. Here we go.
Smith and Rogan are irked when Murray expresses his befuddlement that Smith has become a prominent voice in the debate about Israel and Palestine without ever having visited the Middle East. The shock at the idea that someone ought to see things with their own eyes before commenting on them is palpable. Indeed,
that wasn't the shock,
in the
you dumb
aftermath
fuck.
of the debate, Smith promoted a popular video in which Murray's statements to this effect are contrasted with his previous ridicule of the concept of lived experience. This is very low-quality thinking. If you do not see things with your own eyes, your opinions are by definition not your own. They are an agglomeration of opinions and facts you have gathered from other sources whose veracity you cannot properly evaluate.
I agree. Thus, okay, so if you think about it, if Dave himself goes to Israel, comes back and reports it, we're all still stuck, which means every single one of us has to go over there. And to be honest with you, I think that I'd be all right with that. Let's all go over there and see the entire area. All 300 million of us. Let's all go over there. Let's occupy the entire fucking country and let's see what's going on. It'll at least stop them from shooting fucking bombs at each other. If Hamas is desperate to hold on to hostages, they would probably not want to shoot at Americans and get the American military over there. Let's just be honest. But obviously, you have people sowing the narrative, oh, they're just jihadists. And jihadists, they want to kill 24/7. They want to kill and be killed, according to Sam Harris and Douglas Murray. They want to kill and they want to be killed. But yet, for some reason, they keep taking cover. It's weird. They keep hiding hostages. According to Israel's Minister of Defense, they're actually protecting the hostages. Maybe not for moral reasons, but for leverage. And like, why do these guys need leverage if they're just radical, batshit crazy jihadists? Doesn't make sense. Why would they follow phase 1 of the negotiations if they're just batshit crazy, want to kill everyone and kill themselves? Why were they willing to agree to phase 2 and end the entire war? Give back all the Israeli hostages that they have, or if they're dead, give back the bodies. And actually step down. Willing to step down from the Palestinian government. Or you could say Gaza. They were willing to step down too. And damn, we never got to find out if that would actually happen or not because Israel couldn't help themselves. They had to start bombing again. And what was their reason? They have our hostages. Like, no, dude, we're going to give them to you. Just go through with the peace deal. We'll stop everything. We'll give you the fucking hostages. Like, hold them to their word. Hold them to their word at the very least. But no. Because, let's be real, thinking people already recognize what's going on over there. They're trying to wipe out those people. Either by death or by exile. They're trying to wipe them out. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. And I think you're lying to yourself and you're lying to others or you're really, really stupid if you somehow have not picked up on that. Once again, within all these conflicts around the world, all these foreign policy, all things, all these geopolitical maneuverings, all these domestic maneuverings, there's always an IQ test there. And what I mean by that is something where it's like, it's so simple logic to where like, there's no way you get this one wrong. And although there's many in that region, because of, let's be real, the mass amount of killing of like where there's like children, you can't accuse children of being in Hamas. You can't do that. Sorry, it's not going to work. But the untold numbers of innocent people who are not in Hamas, have nothing to do with Hamas, get killed. And like I said, I know there's been many of these deaths happening. But the medical worker one is just clear as day. There's no way around it. There is no way around it. Like, okay, that is wrong. There's no way around it. And yet, that simple little IQ test to show you, like, okay, at the very least, we can all say that's wrong, right? Just like if you ask Dave Smith, or you ask me, or if you ask Rogan, or you ask someone else, or if you ask most people, they'd probably say, like, yo, what Hamas did on October 7th, like, yeah, that's wrong, clear as day wrong. So you know what? Hey, man, I don't think it's about going there or not going there. It's about having the most correct information. And guess what? If we're all stumbling around, not knowing the answers, then damn, it seems like there should be an investigation where you have blatant proof and evidence that you can show everyone. That's what I want. Give me blatant proof, blatant evidence of every little incident that seems to be something wrong. Don't just say it. Don't just be the state head or the state official saying it and say, like, oh, this is the case. Show me all the evidence. Go through it. Like with that medical workers thing, the 15 dead medical workers. Go through evidence for all of us. Make it patently clear. Make it into an IQ test where it's like, this is so blatant and brazen. There's no way around it. This is the situation that's happening over there. Now, how come that never happens? Something tells me you won't like it. Something tells me that the audience, forget about this guy, but the regular American, the regular Israeli, the regular Palestinian, the regular person, if they saw the report, like word for word, like clear as day, here's where these guys fucked up, here's where these guys fucked up, as far as like did something wrong or illegal or anti-human, let's be honest. I don't think the big wigs will like it too much. It's crazy. Like I heard some Tim Kennedy talking to Rogan, some past clip, and like his logic, he's like, yeah, look, if Hamas had fucking weapons, if Hamas had the backing of the U.S. military and they had the bigger army and the stronger army and all that shit, they would just genocide Israelis. I'm like, that could be true. That could be true. I don't know. That's not what's happening right now. See, what's happening right now is Israelis have the big military. They have the backing of the U.S. and Western powers, and they're committing a genocide. So telling me Hamas would do the same thing does not help you and does not help me like start favoring your side in regards to any of this. Now you can do all you want to not call it a genocide, but give it a different name then, and define your terms. Then go through the fucking evidence and tell me how it's not. It's not that bad. Or it would be worse if Hamas had it. Well, we don't have that luxury, do we? We don't have the fucking, Thanos glove to snap fucking reality into a different reality. Like, we can't do that. So what do we have what we have in our hands is a blatant genocide, mass killings of civilians. Mass. Remember, this thing that started October 7th is from 2023. It's not even 2 years old. Or this crazy bombardments. I mean, there's been instances before all that. But I'm saying, like, within this less than 2 year time period, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands. Let's be honest. It's probably in the hundreds of thousands. Not going to fall for that bullshit. Like they did with Iraq. Right? Like, oh, only this many died. Even though it's still a really high number, and let's be real, disgusting and anti-human. But still, I think the actual numbers were bigger. Just like I think in this incident. So, I'm done with this fucking guy. Once again, logically speaking. It's about quality of information. The only way to know if something has quality to the information is let's do an investigation. But these guys never do that, do they? I don't hear any fucking investigations from these guys. I hear State Department talking points, and then downplaying or pushing away anyone else that has a counter to it. By any means necessary, too. I wouldn't be surprised that if Douglas Murray got caught in a weird spot in a debate or an argument, I wouldn't be surprised if he threw a fucking Batman smoke dart or smoke thing on the ground, bro, and disappeared. Make sure the narrative wins by hook or by crook. That's how weird these people are. Now, continuing on here. Now let's get to the Peterson and Rogan shit. Hopefully I don't get copyrighted for this. It's weird. I don't know how Rogan shit works, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's like, it's weird. There's always this thing, seemingly, where someone has something like just blatantly off. Right? Let's you could say like the Israel-Palestinian conflict, where the reporting from a lot of mainstreamers or mainstream influencers or whatever the fuck. I mean, I think the tide's kind of turning. I think the tide's kind of turning because it's kind of obvious what's happening over there. But as of now, there are people that will stick to a side no matter what. And it's almost like watching a video of LeBron James blatantly traveling. You do a video about how, like, damn, that's a fucking travel. You do a video about it, and then these LeBron fans enter your comment section and say, that ain't a travel? It's like, bro, are you telling me my eyes are lying that much to me from what I'm seeing? Then you'll have guys come out and like, oh, yeah, I was a 12-year vet in the NBA. That's not a travel. Out of nowhere. It's like, what the who are these zombies? When did the zombie horde show up? What the fuck is this? A zombie horde of influencers and content creators and IDWs and all this shit. Where they look good when they're on the right side of a topic. They look like geniuses, don't they? But then when they're on the wrong side, it looks so obvious because, once again, it's an IQ test. It's an IQ test. It becomes like, now it's just brazen and blatant. Like, come on, man. We just saw him. He shot the kid. He's laughing. He recorded himself shooting a kid. He's laughing and giggling about it. Is that wrong? Well, Hamas uses human shields. Holy shit, dude. Like, you have to make sure that this narrative wins no matter what, don't you? Which makes it seem very nefarious. Now, I'm not going to say that about Jordan Peterson. I don't know. But he is going to do some intellectualizing that, you know. Who knows? Let's go through it, and I'll give you my natural reaction to it. Maybe I'll end up thinking he's full of shit. Maybe I'll end up thinking he's being honest, but he's an idiot. Maybe I'll think he's correct. He's being a smarty pants, you know? But let's go into it. Here we go. Here's Jordan Peterson. Here's the first clip I'm going to play from Jordan Peterson trying to assess, I guess, I think he's trying to save Douglas kind of a bit. Maybe. I don't know. But here we go. Let's listen to it.
You also set that conversation up, but it
Turn the volume up.
made itself manifest in that conversation.
Yes, you did.
And the issue is, how do you
Hi, everybody.
the
Right. Playing a video.
You also set that conversation up, but it
Or screen.
poked
Do
up
what-
and
do
made
one or the
itself
other.
manifest in that conversation. And the issue is, how do you identify the psychopathic pretenders?
do it.
And it's even worse now.
I did.
And then make a barrier, right? Now,
Right.
the right was calling for the left to do that for decades.
Right.
And they didn't, and they couldn't. And the left is not good at drawing barriers. Partly
let me-
you also set that conversation
Sorry.
up, but
Rewind
it
this.
poked up and made itself manifest in that conversation. And the issue is,
And the conversation is the Douglas Murray, Dave Smith, Joe Rogan. Just want to add that in there. Make sure I didn't forget saying that. And here we go. It's going to be something that's kind of, I guess, not to do with it, but some people might say it does. Let's hear it.
it poked up and made itself manifest in that conversation. And the issue is, how do you identify the psychopathic pretenders? And it's even worse now, and then make a barrier, right? Now, the right was calling for the left to do that for decades.
Right.
And they didn't, and they couldn't. And the left is not good at drawing barriers, partly temperamentally. The right...
Now, for me, we're already in a problem when we're saying, we're trying to talk about psychology, and we're talking about the left and the right. That already blows my mind. I mean, I would say, if you're going to be, no pun intended, use a hierarchy here, I would think psychology gives you more of the diagnosis than the political leanings, because people can come up with a whole bunch of different reasons to follow one thing or another with their own sense of reason. But as far as how they get to their how they possess reasoning, right, which is relative. It's not standard across from one person to another, but those actual developments of the psychological faculty of reason and logic, like how they get there, will give you a bigger answer in regards to what's happening with a person than what their political leanings are. So this is not a good start for me, especially coming from a psychologist who likes Jungian psychology, right? Not that I'm an expert either. Like, sorry, I'm gonna keep saying that. Like, I don't care if it looks bad. Like, I'm not an expert in it. I just go off of from observing my own psyche and observing others, like in lectures and talks and readings and all that shit. So there you go. I'm a weirdo, basically. Anyways, let's keep it going.
Make a barrier, right? Now, the right was calling for the left to do that for decades, and they didn't, and they couldn't. And
I don't think that's
the
true.
left is not good at drawing barriers, partly temperamentally. The right is somewhat better, but there's no shortage of monstrosity there. And so then the question is, how do you draw the line? And that's kind of what I was, because I've been watching these right-wing, they're not right-wing, these psychopathic types manipulate the edge of the conservative movement for their own gain. And a lot.
I wonder. I don't know who he's talking about. If it's something where like, hey, there's a fucking wolf in the house dressed in sheep's clothing, maybe you should tell everyone, Jordan Peterson, by name, who these people are. Maybe he says it in the podcast. I can't play that because I think I'll get copyrighted if I do that. But he should say names. Maybe he means someone like Nick Fuentes, because he's going to talk about anti-Semitism for some reason. That's why these guys get called the woke right. Like, Peterson's, I think, using it with other people, but people would call him, and definitely the Daily Wire people, and definitely Douglas Murray's and Sam Harris's and these guys, they would call those guys the woke right because they did all these talking for years about anti-Semitism and facts over feelings or not anti-Semitism, sorry, Black Lives Matter and trans people and gay people and you know, all that shit, right? The woke left. They did all that, but now, if you question Israel, all of a sudden, these fools are coming out of the woodworks and just calling everyone anti-Semitic, which is the same thing as, hey man, I think someone should get this job based on merit, not on race. What are you, racist? You hate black people, bro? You hate us, don't you? Then a woman walks in. You hate us women too, don't you? You don't want us to have that job? Like, no, I just want qualified people. It doesn't matter what you look like, right? That was kind of the logic from their perspective in that little time period, right? I guess it's still going on, I guess. I think it's corny and stupid and kind of, once again, dumb guy shit. Or not dumb guy shit, but like, I think dumb guy logic cleans up all those topics very quickly. But obviously, these guys have to make mountains out of molehills because I think Peterson might actually explain why that happens. He might actually explain, and I think in the next video, he might more so explain how these people are taking such simple topics and turning them into mountains. Right? So I guess I'll wait for that part. But that whole thing where like, oh, we're not racist because we're criticizing a black person, or we think this happened to George Floyd, or we think, you know, there shouldn't be Black Lives Matter rallies and riots and whatever the fuck. But then these guys turn around years later and it's like, if you criticize Israel, like that's the way it looks on the surface, at least. If you criticize Israel, these guys might be ready to call you anti-Semitic. Now, maybe that's not Jordan Peterson that does that, but we've seen that already from Ben Shapiro. He's been doing that before all this. He was doing that. You know, the facts over feelings guy, or facts over feelings, or logic over feelings guy. Yeah, if you criticize Israel, he might call you anti-Semitic. Tim Pool has been calling people anti-Semitic for years because of protesting Israel. Trump has been doing that as president. He's done it in his first 4 years as president. He's extra doing it now, where he's even deporting people for thinking differently. Crazy, right? So that's why those guys are being called the quote-unquote woke right. Let's see if Peterson actually gets to that point. Like, see that dumb, simple understanding of it? Let's see if this guy actually approaches that in these two clips. Here we go.
watching these right-wing, they're not right-wing, these psychopathic types manipulate the edge of the conservative movement for their own gain. Right. And a lot of that's cloaked in anti-Semitic guys. There's plenty of anti-Semitism on the left, too, by the way.
Cloaked in anti-Semitism.
Right.
Well,
but
particularly now.
Yes.
Now, what's funny about that is that if you listen to Douglas Murray, if you listen to Sam Harris, maybe less so Shapiro, but definitely Steven Crowder. If you listen to some of these guys, I mean, well, Candace Owens comes off as a psycho to me. Straight up. Steven Crowder comes off as, at the very least, a sociopath. Like, at work, he's a psychopath. That's the way he comes off to me. Like, kind of uncaring and unempathetic, and, like, is anyone home? Hello? Is there a soul there? Hello? Is there any humanity being expressed here? I can't tell. That's just my intuition, though. That's not a fair thing to run away with, although I'll joke about it a lot. But if you look at guys like Douglas Murray and Sam Harris, I mean, they ooze unempathetic, all of it, from the posturing to the words themselves, right? Like I said, if you show a video, like here's where I'm getting this from, where I'm getting this diagnosis from. If you show a video of like, hey, here's Israel bombing a house where they know it's only children there. They blow it up knowing it's children only, and they fucking kill all the kids in there. I almost guarantee there will be a butt waiting from Douglas Murray. Like, but Hamas. They'll say it, but like almost like uncaring, like, oh yeah, that's terrible, that's horrible. But Hamas has, and then yada yada yada, and almost give like an excuse for it. What?
Me?
Thought you said something.
Oh, I did.
You pissed? What?
No, I'm not done. Okay, hold on. I'm playing the new Oblivion remake. Anyway, no.
Oh shit.
No, I was just as somebody who has recently opened their eyes, I'm seeing that most of these people play the field. They play the field. They don't. They some of them are very unauthentic, and some of them I think they do. They don't do that on purpose, right? They really don't know what they're talking about, and that's what I'm seeing on both sides. Actually, it's kind of.
Oh yeah. Right now, there's people winning history right now by being like Candace Owens is playing a certain side of the political discussion where she's going against Israel. Now, I think she knows that that's gonna, and she got fired from the Daily Wire, which are big Israel supporters. This could be like a gripe thing with her as well, or like a vendetta thing. But her playing that side is getting her a lot of viewers, and guess what? People are giving her credibility. I don't. I smell the tiger in the fucking hen house. I can smell that shit a mile away. Or at least my intuition. That's where my intuition's going. But a lot of people are giving her praise for like, damn, Candace has the courage to say this. Meanwhile, if the topic turns around, let's say this topic goes away at some point, and something else a new topic rolls in, and she's on the wrong side of history again. It's like, man, Candace Owens is trash, bro. She sucks. Like, well, duh. She hasn't apologized for like blatantly like things as simple as doing propaganda to sell private prisons to regular civilians, make them like want those things. Like that's just bizarre behavior. Like who does that?
That's not good.
Someone who's paid to do that does that shit. And right now, this Israel shit is getting her paid, so she might stick with it until the new topic rolls in. But anyways, going back to Peterson here.
I agree. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Going back to Peterson here. Once again, if you look at Douglas Murray and Sam Harris and the way they talk, and once again, if you showed them something where, like, once again, IQ test shit, blatant crime happening, they will have an excuse ready and waiting, almost like a government official would, right? If someone's working for the Trump administration or the Netanyahu administration, right? Or any administration, for any government, right? And that government does something wrong, what do you think the spokesperson is going to get on stage and say? They're not going to be like, yeah, this president sucks ass, bro. He's terrible. They're not going to do that. What are they going to do? They're going to use jargon and jargon and jargon to make what they did make sense, or just not answer the question about it at all. Which is what I just saw Douglas Murray do on Joe Rogan's podcast with Dave Smith, where he ran around, ran in circles, became kind of illogical at many moments during it, twisting topics to stay. Maybe, okay, we're done with the Israel part. I felt like I looked all right when I was done with that, so I pivoted to fucking Syria, and then all these other things. And Dave Smith brings up brings up the Wesley Clark thing, and he starts twisting it back to it's like just jargon that actually goes nowhere. There's no substance to it, because the point is to kill the thing. It's killing the topic itself. It's like icing a kicker in football. Like I don't want them to score, so what I'll do is I'll delay the end of the game. I'll keep calling timeouts, I'll keep fouling, I'll keep doing something to delay the inevitable. And hopefully, if I keep doing this long enough, the clock will run out and the podcast is over. And at least leave some seeds of doubt in the minds of the audience. That maybe initially were like, oh yeah, blatant genocide. We saw all the videos. We see everything that's going on over there. We hear from journalists that go there. We hear from all these different types of people.
Yeah.
But Douglas Murray, he filibustered long enough to like make me think, like stall out a bit. Which is like, that's on you, right? As an individual, people should be able to say whatever they want. If you fall for something, you fall for something. It is what it is. That's your freedom. That's your right to be wrong about something or right about something, right? You should have all the information available to you, for sure. But what I'm talking about right now is Douglas Murray's intention with that whole conversation. It was to muddy the waters. It was to put some seeds of doubt in there. It was to filibuster and talk fucking slow and all this shit. Seemed like tactical shit to me, in my opinion. That's where I'm at. But yeah, like that to me is psychopathic behavior. To where even when Dave could be telling you a heartfelt story of some person that died over there or whatever the fuck, Douglas is looking down at his notes, writing counterpoints down, and not soaking in what's being said to him. Where it's like, oh, you're here to make sure your side wins. For what reason? I can't say I know, but I wouldn't be surprised if money's involved. Or maybe some brainwashing thing is involved. Or maybe they gave you enough pats on the head and say, you're a really smart guy. In fact, we've been calling you smart for so long that you now will do whatever the fuck we want. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But that's the way it's like, there's something not right there, in my humble opinion. I'm not going to fall back off that, man. I'm not going to, sorry. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, man. It's time to, like, actually use these other psychological faculties, Jordan Peterson, and emotional faculties. And once again, my faculty, the first 5 minutes of that Douglas Murray, Dave Smith, Joe Rogan podcast, I'm like, this guy's a fucking viper. At some point in the discussion and debate, Dave Smith realized, he's like, oh fuck, this is not a pal you have drinks with. This guy's here. He's doing a work, like he's working right now. This is not a conversation of best buds trying to figure things out about the world. This guy's working. He's here to try to end me, or to subvert the conversation. More importantly, subvert the conversation. Fuck Dave Smith. Subvert the conversation. Thankfully, the overwhelming majority of the audience didn't buy that shit. They're like, yo, this guy's a C word. He's a Douglas Murray. That moment when Dave Smith was like, well, listen, you got thousands of people being massacred. It's not a massacre. Dave's like, what? It's not a massacre. That's what war is. Dave Smith's face fucking dropped to the floor. He's like, what? You can't give me that? That's when I think Dave really realized who he's in the room with. And what type of person is in the room with him. And now if Jordan Peterson comes on here and tells me that Douglas Murray is one of the healthy ones, and then let's be real, some numb brain like Jake Shields, right? Who I think is not helping himself, and I think I haven't seen enough of him personally. So it's hard for me to judge. But as far as the idea of him on the surface that people have said about him as a person on the surface, like even if he means all the wellness in the world, he could be fucking up with his word, most likely. I don't know. Just, once again, intuition. It's a sorry intuition because I don't know enough. I haven't looked into his work. I should start looking into it, just to keep tabs. You know, that's my thing. I like hearing from people and about people. But something tells me that even if, let's say, Jake Shields is quote unquote anti-Semitic, quote unquote, right? At the same time, like when I hear that guy, the small times I've heard the guy or saw some writing from him or something like that, I'm like, I think this guy actually believes what he's saying and means it. Meaning he's not a Douglas Murray, even though people may not like his ideas and they may call it anti-Semitic. He's not one of those psychopaths that fucking Jordan Peterson's talking about. I don't believe that about Jake Shields at all. Or like Owen Benjamin, like I don't look at those guys as psychopaths at all. But if you ask me about Douglas Murray and Sam Harris, oh my god, talk about void of fucking emotional intelligence. Holy fuck. That's what that shit looks like to me. So, Jordan Peterson can tell me all the shit he wants. And I don't look at Jordan Peterson as a psychopath. I think he's somewhat of a well-meaning guy, but he's a little bit lost in the sauce. I think politics like fucking broke his brain or something. I don't know. Once again, things like people like Jake Shields or Jordan Peterson, who I haven't seen as much of as of lately. You guys can send me information or whatever the fuck, recommend videos to where I can get a better understanding of it. But I'm just saying, like on the surface, from what I've seen, I don't view these two guys as psychopaths. And what Peterson looks like he's doing is protecting people in a different way than Murray was, I think. But nonetheless, it's still an attempt at protecting those guys who clearly look like the fucking psychopaths. The Douglas Murrays and the Sam Harrises. Anyways, let's continue. I like to ramble, you know? It is what it is. Here we go.
By the way, so it's not unique to the right,
Well,
but
particularly now.
yes, particularly now.
Right.
And so, you've let your curiosity guide you, your curiosity and your desire for knowledge, this quest,
Remember, you have to dick ride Rogan, too.
Guide you as a podcaster, and by the way, I'm trying to work through exactly the same sort of thing. How do you know, given your radical increase in stature over the last 10 years, how do you know when your curiosity and even your skepticism about the fact that things aren't the way that people say they are, because that's certainly been demonstrated in the last 10 years, how should anyone decide what guardrails to put up? Like, what do you look for? Do you have a conceptual system worked out for that? Like,
now, okay, 1 second left.
And what
Okay, I guess it
You
stops
also-
there. All right. So, I mean, that's a good question. It's just the timing of it makes it look very sus, right? Because this is once again following the Dave Smith, Douglas Murray shit. And the whole idea of anti-Semitism happening, where these guys just come out of nowhere. Like, oh, anti-Semitism is on the rise. Anti-Semitism is ruining my day. Anti-Semitism stepped on my ice cream cone. Anti-Semitism tied my shoelaces together. Like, on and so forth. Like, it's a weird phenomenon that I see happen socially. But, all right, he's asking Joe a question, essentially about, like, it's kind of what, it's a nicer way of what Douglas Murray was asking, essentially. Like, how do you know hey Joe Rogan, how would you know if you're sitting across from a future Hitler? How would you know? Unless you're like, what do you conceptualize? What are your guardrails? What is your protection system, like psychologically speaking, to defend against a Hitler-type person? All right, which I think is just feeding into where Douglas Murray was trying to go. And it's just bizarre, man. That's where it seems to be going. Like, in my humble opinion, that's what it fucking looks like to me. Now, to actually answer the question, like take it out of this narrative of Douglas Murray and Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, and actually try to attack the question there. I think in a vacuum, it's a good question. I ask this all the time. I talk to people that have been organizers or want to be organizers or a part of political movements or whatever the fuck, and it's like, yo, how do you know? Like, you want to do all this good for the world, right? And I believe these people that the people I've talked to want to do that shit. But what happens if there's a George W. Bush in your ranks? How would you know? How do you protect yourself? You can't just kick someone out of your group based on intuition, right? I don't even think you should kick anyone out of your groups. You just recognize, hey, George W. Bush might act like George W. Bush. What do you do with that? When you feel confronted by that idea, what do you do? Or a person like that? It's like, well, the answer is pretty fucking simple. Like, be yourself. Authentically be yourself. It's really that simple. It really is that simple. If some Douglas Murray, George W. Bush motherfucker walks in, oh, well, and they ask, like, well, what do you think about this? As like a kind of a gotcha type thing. You could be like, well, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with not knowing something. You're authentically not knowing something, which leaves room for what? Investigation. Okay, let's investigate it. And you can investigate authentically. Meaning bringing all your faculties, even all your intuition, your logic, your abstraction, all your imagination, bring all of it to the fucking table. And just investigate. And be observant. Be observant of what you're like externally observing, and also observant of your own thoughts. Because you'll be able to poke out and recognize maybe a little bias enters the psyche at a certain moment because, you know, some bully in school looks like the guy you're investigating. You might have fuck that guy. Wait a minute, that looks like that bully from high school. And I'm judging this guy I don't know based on that. All right, let's go a little less personal or something on a bigger scale, like quote unquote on a bigger scale. Maybe you're used to movies where you see, you know, Arab guys yelling Allah Akbar and blowing shit up, right? Then when you see an Arab guy in let's say video footage that you're investigating, that you're looking into to try to figure out what happened in a particular incident, you look at the video and hear the guys yelling Allah Akbar, right? Which means like what? God is great or something like that. Does that mean I blow shit up now? No, not for everyone. Not for 99.999% of the Muslim population. That does not mean blow yourself up time. That's a small amount of people that actually do those actions. And we just saw it in the medical van, right? Where they found the cell phone footage. They found the cell phone in the guy's pocket, who, crazy enough, recorded the thing. He basically recorded his own death, essentially. And he's saying that he's oh, God is great, and Mom, I'm sorry, Mom, I love you. I'm sorry I picked this path in life. Now I'm about to die. Like, he knew he was about to die. I think he was like laying on the ground and you could just hear bullets whizzing past the guy. So it's like, once again, the conditioning of like a movie or, you know, Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or one of these, like, any news network. It could be content creators and they use these like Douglas Murray and Sam Harris saying these jihadis. Like, that's I think a derogatory term, essentially. Considering like what the word jihad actually means. I think it means like revolution or something like that. Right? That doesn't mean, hey, blow yourself up and kill as many people as you can when you blow yourself up. It's not exactly what that means. But yet, they are allowed to use the word jihadist and no one cares. I think that's on purpose, personally. They're trying to wink and nod at the previously conditioned new atheist movement, right? They're trying to keep those guys around, keep an audience together. But yeah, being authentic is essentially the antidote to bullshit. It says
Jihad means fighting against the enemies of Islam.
And how do you define that?
That's the literal definition of jihad.
Fighting against the enemies of Islam?
Fighting against the enemies of Islam.
Let me look that up.
I literally just Googled it, and that was the first thing that popped. Not kidding.
Either way, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
striving, exertion, righteous.
A struggle or a fight against the enemies of Islam, the spiritual struggle within oneself
Yes.
against sin, yada, yada, yada. They could be interpreted 10 million different ways. Yeah, a peaceful protest could mean jihad in that same definition, right? If Islam means this, fighting for it could mean peaceful protest. Literally. In fact, there are people who actually use those words. Just like there's people that use electronic intifada. Same thing. Like, that's a publication, right? They're not blow ourselves up, guys. They're journalists.
I am not here for judgment. I just read off the definition.
And I added more context to it. But yeah. So, once again, jihadist could be a school teacher.
Jordan. I'm just joking.
Yeah. A jihadist could be a school teacher by the actual definition of the word. I'm sure there's many more interpretations. But obviously, Sam Harris and Douglas Murray use jihadist in a derogatory sense to say it's like a blanket term to say they're all terrorists. And their religion's going to cause mass death around the world. When it's actually been the other guys doing that. That's the crazy part. That is the crazy part about it. In order to stop terrorism, we've killed way more civilians. Like Western powers and governments have killed way more civilians than ISIS, Al Qaeda, or whoever the fuck combined. Way more. So it's like it's just a bizarre, just like material difference there. It's just a bizarre. It's bizarre.
I'm gonna come at this in a means of love, right? Like, and without judgment. Like, I think most of these people, I think there's like an issue with misguidance. I'm not gonna blame them. I'm not gonna just misguidance.
Of who? Who's being misguided?
Well, what is negativity, right? What is negativity? It is a means to express negative. Well, let me try to word this. So I think that if you have people pushing negativity, it's going to spread negativity, right? If you don't understand.
That's not true. But I understand. I get what you're saying.
Absolutely.
But it's not true.
Because hold on. So if you look at religion as a whole, if you put it, like most religions will say that you put out what you get back in the universe. That's exactly what they say, right? So if you're a negative person and you're giving negativity out in the universe, you're gonna get that back. That's the whole fucking that's the whole thing there, right?
Possibly.
So if somebody is like Islamic and putting negativity out in the universe and wanting to harm people, they're gonna get that back. So.
Yeah, but it's everyone else who's not doing that. They're the ones who eat all the shit, bro. I mean, the ISIS guys definitely eat bombs too, but way less so compared to everyday civilians. Those are the guys who die the most.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Right? It's weird because hold on, real quick, because they call like ISIS guys. They'll say when someone does a suicide vest bombing, right? They're like, oh yeah, he martyred himself. Civilians, when they get hit from a U.S. missile or something like that, they say they were martyred. Not that they were combatants, they were martyred, but they died, and they put a kind of spiritual sense on the death and call it martyrdom.
Yeah.
But yet, these two different groups use it in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, but at the same time, we kill the guys that are doing it in more of a spiritual way than the guys that are doing it for political reasons, right? They're trying to blow up libraries to kill as many whoever's they want. Muslims, Christians, Jews, whoever, right? They try to kill everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that if you're trying to kill multiple people, that's definitely a misguided action. I do.
Yeah, and
like saving a life is a totally different energy than actually taking one. Just saying.
Yeah, and by no means can you ever blame. I don't care how much foreign policy and all this shit, and all the dark deeds of the U.S. government. There's no way you can blame their bombs for someone deciding to join, like, okay, let's just kill everyone. And they join an extremist group. That is on them, straight up.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
once again, we're giving these creepy, crawly, brainwashing type motherfuckers that try to recruit people. When you kill someone's whole family and he's the only one left, I think it makes it a lot easier for ISIS or Al Qaeda or Al Nusra or any of these fucking groups, HTS, to recruit people. I think it makes it quite a bit easier because people don't know how to digest their own pain. Thus, they look for a way to get therapy in a weird, twisted way with some people. Some people shoot up schools, right? It's the same concept. They feel like they were shit on, and they do something in retaliation.
I'm gonna say this too. Like, this is more so like if you actually speak to the right? So they do believe in individuality, correct? So if you actually look at it, right?
No, you got to define right first.
Everybody makes.
It depends. Depends on who. If you mean someone who really believes it, then yes. But there are people who don't actually believe it that just say they are the right.
And that's yeah. No, I'm not talking about those people. But if you actually believe in individuality, you understand that you make a choice. This is your choice. So if somebody is recruited from ISIS, they made a choice on that, right? If somebody isn't recruited or rejects them, that's a choice. But they usually. Oh, what? What were you gonna say?
I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying. Like, I believe in individuals, and everybody decides for themselves. They have what they do is under their control. Yes. So the fact is, like, we shouldn't be freaking putting people in labels and like try to make them seem, oh, because you believe in Islam, you're all evil. That's something I don't believe in anymore. You're freaking making a generalized statement when you are saying that you believe in individualism, right? Right?
Yeah.
You could literally say that somebody is an Islamic terrorist if they decide to put on the bomb and blow up a bunch of people. Yes, you could put that label on that, right?
I would.
That individual is an Islamic terrorist.
I mean, they're all human beings. They're all human beings, but yes, I would be like, okay, this guy's a ISIS fighter.
If you're actually talking about it as on an individual level, correct? And I don't like to judge people, right? Like, now I'm like totally against judging people. But the fact of the matter is, these people do not see the bigger picture. It is an embarrassment to humanity itself. I'm sorry to say that. That's the left and the right. Because they like to label and judge and put in groups. And it's like, dude, do you not see that there is a lot of darkness in the world right now? And if you actually stop doing this would actually make society a little better. A little better. A little better. Just saying. A little better. But, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, they're like self-fulfilling their own prophecies.
Yep.
Once again, I always leave room for the human being, right? I don't define a human being as an ISIS fighter, but if we're just talking in a conversation, I'll be like, okay, that guy's an ISIS fighter, right? Because he wears the garb, he flies the flag, he shoots innocent people, he tries to blow himself up, whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
He's he's extremist, essentially. But that's not who he is as an entire of a human being, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. But, you know, for me, my idea of things is radical empathy. Radical empathy. Thus, when if someone's whole family dies and they're like, I want revenge, I'm going to join ISIS, I do not take away their ability to make decisions for themselves. I won't be like, oh no, it's not his fault, it's the U.S. bomb's fault. Like, no. If I can't take away his choice. I can't, him or her, I can't take away their choice, right? I can't just be like, oh no, they're just a victim of this and that's why they're like this. Like, no. That is up to them. They will always have a choice. There must always be that choice there. Otherwise, we're all going to do horrible shit if something bad happens to us. And I can't stand that shit. I can't stand it when people do that. When something bad happens to them and they take it out on other people, I can't stand that. Now, can I be empathetic? I'll always be empathetic. Like, man, I understand why they're doing it. But I wouldn't ever call it the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's their choice. It's their choice to do that. Straight up.
And something else too is like, like if you're a Christian, right? It's kind of like weird because they misconstrued the whole Jesus thing. When Jesus says,
Don't tell
judge but judge righteously, right? Well, no, I believe that there was a Jesus. I do believe that there was a man like that, right? So his
Yeah.
actions and testimony is actually pretty compelling. But a lot of Christians will take that and they'll justify their own actions to a man that actually would not prefer that action, right?
Yeah. Or they.
And
Yeah.
there are people sent into this world for to give light, right? And Jesus was one of them. So why are you using his light for the most evil acts on this planet?
Uh,
Why?
Probably a lack of use of all their human faculties. Right?
Yeah,
If you let's say you don't use a muscle for a long time, I'm pretty sure it like calcifies in a way. It gets harder, like it
but you,
becomes strained and hard to use, and then it gets so bad
yeah,
that it's almost becomes numb to you, and not even notice. Like you lose feeling in limbs or whatever the fuck things that you stopped using. All right.
yeah,
And if you have these faculties and you turn off emotions for a certain, let's say to get the job, right? Or let's say
yeah,
you're a soldier and you're like, I need to turn off my emotions in this situation because I'm going to be shooting at people and I can't
yeah,
be all crying and emotional about it. I need to be like locked in, right? And if they get so
yeah,
used to that feeling and stuck in that lack of feeling situation, it could maybe calcify it over time. Not forever. That's the beauty of the Jesus character, right? Is part of his
yeah,
story is that like, oh no, you're never too far away to move towards the good. You're never too far away. That's why I love like Neo and Batman and Superman, these characters too. Like, that's what they kind of
yeah,
represent. Like there's always a chance. No matter how dark it gets, there's always a chance for you. But
yeah.
at the same time, if they don't get any clue of that, and they just get used to having a numbness to where they don't even notice they're numb anymore. It's just everyday life. Then it could be like, damn, that could be how maybe psychopaths develop. That could be how
Can I?
lack of empathy starts happening. Yeah, good.
I'm gonna actually say something that I you know how I found love and how I found like respect and caring about other people. You know how I changed
BBC porn.
my perspective? Oh my God! No, yo, bro,
That's what you
no!
told everyone
Don't do
here.
that to
What
me.
the hell?
Oh God, no! I didn't say that. Oh God,
Now
no,
it's all over
no.
YouTube. Congratulations.
Oh God, shut up, yo, bro. No, self love. That's how I did it. I changed my whole perspective because I learned how to love myself because the darkness I had within. Yeah,
Well,
darkness are shadows. No, like everybody has shadows. So that's what people need to understand. They need to deal with that in order for them to actually reach to a higher level. Just saying. Just saying.
I basically agree. It's just all those phenomena, like the actual process itself. If someone can actually like separate the pieces like it's a car almost, right? And get on like define and nail every little portion of that experience, right?
But
Then it'd be like, okay, now we can all maybe get more of a logical understanding of what other people mean by self-love or evolving or whatever the fuck,
well,
right?
actually, no. It has everything to do with emotions. It has nothing to do with the ego.
Well,
So because like we let our emotions like what people need to understand is like when you learn to self love, you have to deal with every single dark emotion you ever had. And every bit of darkness that's within you and every bit of freaking light that's within you. You look at your strengths, you look at your weaknesses, and you're like, okay, I accept these. These are who I am. I have found out who I am. So you got to move forward with that. That's something that I had to learn. That's something that I had to learn. This whole week has been nothing but that. So, yeah, so what people need to understand is like there's a lot of darkness in the world, but you can cut right through it because if you love yourself, it does not matter. And as long as you shine, it does not matter. Nothing matters except what's in your control. That's all I'm saying.
well, Mr. Peterson might actually agree with you on that. Once again, terms
Yeah.
need to be defined for others to actually digest it in a certain way. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole right now. I want to
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
finish the
Yeah.
second video with Jordan Peterson, and let's hear what he has to say, because I do think it's an important point to notice if there's any Douglas Murrays amongst your ranks, or any George W. Bushes running around here, where they might actually be purposely trying to subvert your thing, or they don't actually care about your thing. They're just there for whatever, maybe profit or celebrity and fame or whatever the fuck.
Okay,
So,
I got a question.
yeah, good.
How do you know Douglas Murray is for profit?
I don't know. I don't know. I always leave room for human
Like,
beings to be themselves. I always leave room for that.
the,
I'm
re-
just
the
saying,
reason
he gives all the
the reason why
signs of cuntiness in the world. Like, he gives all the signs to me.
well, hold on. Like that could be literally his personality, right? Like he's gay. He's a gay man, and that it just reminds me of a gay
What?
man, right? Like that straightforward, like out there. But the fact of the matter is, like, I don't see Douglas as that. I see Douglas as looking at his environment and realizing that there's some really messed up things going on there, and him trying to navigate that. He might navigate it wrongly, but I don't see it as a disingenuous. I think he's very passionate about it, and that passion
Mm.
shows through his actions. But I do not believe that he's disingenuous. But I don't think it's for the money. I
I
think he's actually
strongly
trying to.
disagree, and I'm not saying it's for money. I don't know what the exact reasons are, but I think he's a bullshit artist. I think he's clear as day that what I've seen
I
of him.
don't think so. Like,
I mean, when
knowing that
he can't even accept, like, Dave Smith says the word massacre, and this guy's like, no, it's not a massacre. That's just war. Now, if you tell me if someone's talking about tens of thousands of children being slaughtered, thousands don't reach the age of 1, and if someone calls that a massacre, you'd be like, yeah, it's a massacre. What does Douglas Murray do? He needs to he needs to change the narrative for the sake of propaganda purposes, in my humble opinion. I can't say I know that, but that's what that fucking looks like. It looks clear as day like that.
But I'm asking you to like change your perspective though, right? So that actually could be a belief of his that he thinks that casualties in war is acceptable, right? Is
Okay,
acceptable.
okay,
That's
okay.
really what he believes.
I understand that if it wasn't so overwhelmingly one-sided. I mean, overwhelmingly one-sided. I mean, as far as innocent civilians go, I think on the October 7th day, right? There's like what did they say, 1,200? After the first couple weeks of Trump's administration, 1,000 children, just children, died. Just children, almost the same amount in weeks versus 2 years, or almost 2 years. I mean, I think they're up there in the hundreds of thousands, Ghost, in less than 200, over 100,000 people dead, killed, murdered, babies,
Absolutely.
old people, innocent people, dead in less than 2 years. Can you fathom that?
Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, like, he could be stuck in his ways, right? Because literally, if you
Neocon.
you not exactly, I wouldn't put a label on it. I would just say, like, so if somebody has a belief system that a certain group of people are bad, they're going to look at every single angle. And this is something about empathy, right? Like, empathy, you have to look
Once
at
again.
everything, all belief systems, everything.
Sure.
He has no empathy towards them. Okay, that's the bottom line. He has no empathy towards them. He sees them all as evil, and in his mind, his passion literally
That's fine.
translates to like, oh, la, 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 la. Like it's like a pointing a gun at somebody and just pulling the trigger every time.
So
every time.
you think what he was coldly calculatedly doing, like clear as day, coldly calculating, was an emotional reaction to him? He was
Yes,
he's like, no, I want to hear that. So
absolutely. Because
really, when he's hearing about the deaths and shit, and he's writing notes to figure out comebacks. Right, he's hearing them very clearly. He's not shaking at it. He's like very slow talking. He's very methodical in the way he talks. And you're telling me he's doing that because he's so empathetic for his side or something?
I'm not saying that he's empathetic.
Why is Israel his side? That doesn't make sense either.
Saying, hold on. He's not seeing the bigger picture. That's what I mean. Because empathy, you see everything, right? That's not empathy. What he's doing is not empathetic. He's not looking at everything. He's looking at a freaking. It's like tunnel vision. Right, that's what I'm saying. Is like he's pointing down the gun of that tunnel and he's just pulling the trigger.
Well,
because
okay.
He doesn't know what he's shooting at.
Let me ask you that, because wouldn't there be different takes and positions on different topics, right? That would make you think, like, okay,
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
he's a cunt on Israel Palestine, but maybe he's all right over here. Where is that? As far as foreign policy, where is that at?
I'm gonna,
Once again, Ukraine, Russia has nothing to do with fucking jihadis, right?
No.
But yet, he walks the State Department line every time. It's baffling.
I'll say this.
It's baffling, actually.
If everybody has different beliefs, right? So, like, if you believe that a certain view is the correct way to do things, right? and you're not, like I said, looking at the bigger picture, you will go down that straight line. You will see that straight line, and that's the only thing you'll see. You'll ignore the freaking your perception or your side vision, right? It's a straight line. It's just like in trucks when you're
So,
driving a semi, you have to look straight. You don't have your blind spots are on the side. He has blind spots.
so I
The
think
fact
you're
of the matter
actually
is,
agreeing with me, Gus. Ironically
yes,
enough, in a weird way, you're
but I
agreeing with me because what is he turning off? What faculties of him as a human being is he turning off in order to win these arguments? I think he's turning off
I
empathy,
don't
which is something
I
you
don't
might
think
call a psychopath or a sociopath, or Peterson might call them that, right?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't say that because everybody has that type of thing, right? If you're passionate about something, you will turn off other perceptions.
No,
Okay?
not
This is
perceptions,
it.
emotions, in order to just win the argument. For the sake of what? Because
I've done that.
I love the government so
I've done that.
much. Is that what's his reason
I've
for
done
this?
that. Jordan, I've done that. I'm empathetic. I see the other side,
Oh
right?
my god.
But I have done that in arguments to win. But that's before my change.
No. I
See?
think you're a mistake. I have not seen you do what this guy has done.
Oh,
I have
felt
not
it
seen
though.
I have not seen you
I've
do that.
felt it.
I
I
have not
will
seen you do that.
literally I will look at studies and I will pick out the things that matches what I'm saying, and not all of it matches what I'm saying, and I'll be like, oh, I got you. That's not how it works though. You got to look at the whole study, right? So I will do that, and I bet you that's what Douglas is doing. I bet he's looking at a small kernel of the truth, and he's like, oh, I can win this argument with this small fucking kernel.
But
And
it's
then
not. I
he
don't think
turns
it's for the sake
around.
of pride, though. I think he's doing it on behalf of governments. I truly
I
believe
don't.
that. That's why it's like
Our pride
status,
can
like
hold on, hold
neo-cunty.
on. Pride can be a terrible tool to the human mind. It could be the greatest of our assets, and it could be the freaking lowest points of
He
our ego.
pridefully
Right?
embedded himself with the IDF
When
army.
you
I don't understand
yes,
this. He
if
pridefully
you think
embedded
you're gonna
himself with
win a
Ukrainian soldiers. That doesn't make sense. Is that a
because
pride,
our belief system. Hold
or
on.
is he
Our belief
working? Is he
system.
doing the job he's supposed to be doing, which
Hold
is
on.
sell these narratives
I
to regular people who are not experts because they don't go over there themselves.
I believe
That's a
that probably
dishonest
half the
argument.
people that you. Well, hold on. I believe that half the fucking people that you're talking about, like Jordan Peterson, freaking Candace Owens, freaking Douglas Murray, all these other people that are clinging on to one side. Yeah, some of them are doing it for a paycheck, but some of them are doing it for pride, right? Oh, I got to win an argument. Oh, I know I'm right. Oh, this is my side. Oh, that's how people think. If they do not see the bigger picture, they will play the sides, right? So if I believe, like I remember before this transformation, I considered myself on the right? And I considered myself pro-war, correct? I saw war
Sure.
as a justification for actions. Guess what? I changed my thinking. I don't believe that at all.
Where do you
I
think
don't think war
Netanyahu's
does a
at?
damn thing.
We're getting subverted
We're,
from the whole video I'm supposed to be doing, but
I
let me ask
I
you
know.
one question. Where do you think Netanyahu is? Or is he just like
Netanyahu?
is Benjamin Netanyahu? Is he just like Douglas Murray? Are you saying he just has pride or something for something, and he has to
No,
force himself to be correct?
I don't believe so. I think it's that Netanyahu actually is for himself.
Okay, and the guy who goes out of his way to make sure he's justified in everything he's doing. What do we call
People
that?
will do anything to win an argument.
I don't think it's about winning an argument. I don't think if he wanted to win the argument, he could have just taken evidence and actually examined it,
Listen.
or at least pretended to. But he didn't do that, which is why the entire audience is like, "Yo, this guy's a fucking C-word."
Hold on. You have to look at something though. When people see that are actually on his team, correct? When people see that are actually on his team, they're gonna eat that up.
I think you were patently
They're gonna
wrong
eat
about
that up.
Douglas Murray. I think you're patently wrong about him. I really do believe
I
it.
don't. After watching him and actually listening to what he's in there for the pride. He's in there for the pride. It's not like
I think he works for a State Department,
has,
bro. That's what I think. He works. He's like
but you
a
could say
William
that
F.
with
Buckley or
but hold on,
William F. Buckley
you could
wannabe.
say that with any type of freaking political freaking commentator.
No, I
Oh yeah,
wouldn't.
Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder works for the government.
I wouldn't say he works for the government, but he works for essentially the party,
But
but not
you don't
not
know
really
that.
government.
But
It seems pretty obvious, though. once again,
But
I
no,
think
no, no,
I have
no,
an
it
explanation for
doesn't.
this.
Because
I have an
I'm putting
explanation for
judgment on
this.
something.
No, I have an explanation for this. See, what I'm seeing here is these blatant IQ tests that are put up in front of you in real time. Here, like, Dave Smith brought up something that Douglas Murray had no clue about, right? Which was Wesley Clark saying, "Hey, we're gonna invade 7 countries in 5 years," right? And he named the 7 countries, right? That's what Wesley Clark did back in 2000. Fuck it, what year was it? What year did he do that? Fuck. It's 2011? Whatever. He did it back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened? It wasn't 2011. It was way before that. What happened? We invaded 6 of the 7 countries with one left, which is Iran, which we're building up war for to go to war with Iran, right? Now Douglas Murray heard this, and he sounded like he'd never heard of it before, which was interesting. I'm like, I thought you'd have a built-in comeback for that, but I don't think he had one. So what does he do? He scrambles around and finds a way to make it wrong somehow. And then Dave gets befuddled because he's like, dude, this is right in your face. Dumb guy logic. Here's a blatant IQ test for you. And you're trying to fail. It's not that you're just failing it. It's you're trying to fail it. Because you need to shake the narrative to make sure, not my side, but apparently, like I don't see what benefit he gets out of it other than awards from State Department people.
Win. A win. That his side is right. Yes, absolutely, people will do that. I'm not kidding.
And the Israel government
prove,
actually gave him a medal for his coverage.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I can win an argument by twisting something back on somebody else, I'm going to do it. If I really wanted to, right? The human ego has no bounds. Come on. You know this, Jordan.
I don't think. Once again, I believe that, but not with this guy. This guy moves. He moves differently. He moves he moves like he's a viper. Granted, I think he's toothless and no real gumption to him. But he tries to move like a viper. He tries. That's what we just saw. I'm sorry. I watched all 3 hours of that motherfucker. This dude was subverting around every corner. He was filibustering every chance he could take. Which means, what's he doing with that? Try to kill time. So that 3 hours goes up, and it's like, oh, I won. Or, oh, I subverted the conversation enough to where we never actually got to debate about the topic. That's the way it looked to me. That's the way it looked to, like, apparently not to appeal to authority. I'm just going to say it anyways. That's the way it appeared to basically 99.99% of the fucking comment section too. You're like, who is this fucking guy?
Oh, hold on. What? Where is this video?
It's the Joe Rogan podcast with Dave Smith and Douglas Murray. And then they followed up.
How long ago was it?
Then he followed up by writing an article in the New York Post about it and trying to once again twist minds, I think. Yeah. Then he goes on the Sam Harris podcast to do what? Try to twist minds, all while selling his book at the same time, obviously. Then he went on Fox News and tried to twist the fucking thing. And everyone's like, yo, who is this guy? Like, who the fuck is this guy?
Just saying, like, I don't think that, I think he, it's just an ego thing, I really do. Because Douglas Murray has a lot of pride, has a lot of passion for this type of topic.
I don't see passion.
And he wants to.
See
there is if you saw
I see a craftsman. I see a craftsman. Working.
If you see some of his fiery freaking commentary within the BBC, right? There's some BBC programs with his commentary. The passion is there. Like, he uses his hands. He's very, like, blunt about it. He's very straightforward. He
does a lot of intellectual cadences. Yes, he does a lot of cadences and shit. I understand that. He look practice in the mirror a little bit. The Sam Harris rallies. I haven't seen his BBC fucking specials or whatever the fuck. I've seen him on Sam Harris very recently.
Sam Harris has had something happen to him that caused him to turn against Islam. Because if you actually watch his behaviors, that it shows something happened to this man to actually have that happen. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think
it shows. Like,
maybe brainwashed at some point. That's what they both were brainwashed at some point, and thus turned off some of these empathetic faculties.
You can
At
see
least
it,
at least when they're covering these topics, it seems like they turn their emotions
it
off.
makes it seem like it's unempathetic.
And they're okay with
but
mass
facts
children
can
dying.
bring out-
They're okay with it, I think.
Well, there's a lot of people okay with children dying.
Yeah, I think they're one of them, or they're two of them.
But the fact of the matter is,
I think Peterson would cry. I think Peterson would cry if he saw all the images and all that shit. I think he'd cry. Those two, they'd be like, "Well, that's just war," or
But a lot of people don't
"It's
wanna face
Hamas's
that
fault.
darkness.
It's Hamas's fault." Where like those
I think-
regular dumb guy, blatant IQ, moral IQ tests, faculties are just thrown out the fucking window, and they need to make sure a side wins. Christopher Hitchens, one of these new atheist guys, I think he'd be like, "This is horrendous. What's happening here is horrendous." Unfortunately, he died a while ago, but he'd be like, "This is horrendous." These two cunts, they'd excuse it and say, "Keep fucking going. Keep going, BB. Jihadists everywhere. Keep going, BB. Blow it up." I mean, you have to agree it's dangerous in that sense, right? Let's say it's just for pride it's for pride. He is arguing for a genocide. You do know that, right? Like blatantly arguing for it. Same with Sam Harris. And in fact, you could see just by looking over the information, they're lying about it in order to sell it as like a good idea to be like this is the right thing to be happening. Or maybe it's the wrong thing that's happening, but it's Hamas's fault.
Well, think about it.
Which is what?
Ugh,
It's like if you're not working for the State Department, you might as well be. You might as well be.
So another way to look at it too, okay? This is something else that could. You were actually right. If they ever saw like the images of dead children and things like that, maybe this would kind of stifle that, or like see the dead bodies in front of them, right?
Well, Murray,
Like
he said, "I've been there. I've been there." According to, he said, that's what he said. He said he'd been there. Now, if most of the people dead are children, and I guess he missed that while he was there on the ground.
I don't feel okay with that. I don't feel okay with that. That's very.
Are you saying he's unaware of that?
I don't like. If I'm correct, okay? If I'm correct, I'll just say this. If I am correct, that would probably change his mind. If he truly has seen the dead bodies of children, that would probably change his mind. That would change anybody's mind that has empathy.
He fucking knows.
But
He knows. Dave said the massacre. He said that's just war.
can I?
Now, usually wars include two sides doing all that shit, right?
Okay.
And this one, it's just one side doing it to the other, quite brazenly.
When you first knew me, right? When you first knew me, was I very fucking war? Did I not care for the children? Did I see unempathetic to you?
No.
Was I very unempathetic to the children? Why?
No,
Or
I think you were just dumb on the topic.
Okay.
I don't think Douglas Murray is
what
just
makes
dumb on
you
the topic. I think he's aware of the information out there, and he's just there to do counterpoints to protect a narrative.
That could be said about any other person that actually understands this and actually.
But I don't.
talks about
But
it.
just giving myself some credit here, I don't just do that with everyone. I point out
Yeah.
people that I think like this guy seems off. I'm not saying that about Jordan Peterson right now.
Okay.
I wouldn't even say that about Ben Shapiro.
The reason
Even though we're all aware that he fucking does that shit for the sake of a narrative. But at least there seems to be a human there somewhere, though. But these Douglas Murrays and fucking Sam Harrises and Tim Pool types, these are just way off figures, in my opinion. Way off. And there's always those moments.
Well, Temple is.
There's always moments where they get caught with something. They get a question or an event happens, and it's like, now what are we going to do? And they still, somehow, with all the eyes watching them, they still pick the wrong answer. Even when it's right in front of their faces, everyone's seeing it, and they're like, no, this is the case. It's like, no, dude, that's blue. It's red, I tell you, it's red. We're staring at it right now. It's blue. See, that's blue. Well, actually, if you think about what red really means, it kind of really means blue. Like, no, it fucking doesn't.
You sound like Stewie for a second. You sound like Stewie.
Like, what do we call it? What do we call those actions? That's called lying. Yeah. Lying, clear as day. When Rogan was talking about, when Rogan was talking about Elon Musk, right? and he did the fucking Nazi salute thing, right? And Rogan's like, oh, no, that wasn't a Nazi salute. It's like, don't lie to some shit I can just look at. I'm looking at it. Now, do I think Elon Musk is a Nazi? No. I think he's probably trolling or he's high as fuck or something. But either way, he did a Nazi salute by accident or on purpose, whatever.
Yeah.
But Rogan's like, no, remember the Pledge of Allegiance? It used to be done like this. Now, when I see Rogan doing that, which is like lying to images I can see with my own fucking eyes, right?
Yeah.
When he's doing it, I think he's doing it to protect someone he views as a friend. See how that's different than what I think Douglas Murray and Sam Harris do? This is not about friendship. This is not about a love for someone so deeply that I have to protect them. I'll lie to protect them. Fuck it. What I see is someone who gets paid by paid or is brainwashed or whatever the fuck for for any of these governments to protect them. Maybe they fucking bred this motherfucker in a lab somewhere to be like this. I don't fucking know. But there are just these events that happen, and when you hear their takes on it, it's like, what the fuck, dude? There's no way. Like, how do you get these answers without being a Douglas Murray? How the fuck does that happen? I can't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, once again, I try to make these diagnoses. I try to make an assessment of it all. And that's the thing I'm walking away with right now. I really do believe this about Douglas Murray and Sam Harris. Peterson, I think, is different. Rogan, I think, is different. Shapiro, I think, is different. But those two motherfuckers are fucking weirdos to me. Not as a whole human being, but the characters they play on TV are fucking weirdos. Sorry, go ahead. I know, I talk a lot. I know. I'm a podcaster, bro. What do you want from me? What I do? Is that it? Hello? No. All right. Time to continue on with this video, I guess. Would your audio die out or something? I don't know. All right.
Who?
You.
Oh. I got distracted. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Put Oblivion away. You can play it whenever you want to. All right.
Okay. I'll pay attention.
Don't worry about it, because I'm gonna move on and play this video, and then be done with this recording. All right.
Okay.
So here's the second video from Jordan Peterson. Let's go over it. Here we go.
I think that virtualization has enabled the psychopaths.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, well,
Without a doubt.
That's a terrible thing, because the psychopathic types, they're always the death of everything. Like, I'm seeing this come up on the right now. So imagine this. I've been working on a new theory of political psychopathology, and I like it quite a lot.
Is this where the term the woke right comes in?
Yeah, well, Lindsay is pointing at that, but he hasn't got.
Now let me stop there. Political psychopathy. Okay. Do you mean like when you're entering the political arena, you exhibit features of psychopathy, like of psychopathy? Is that where he's going? I don't know. Let's hear it out. Maybe it's the woke right. Let's find out.
A new theory of political psychopathology, and I like it quite a lot.
Is this where the term the woke right comes in?
Yeah, well, Lindsay is pointing at that, but he hasn't got the diagnosis exactly right. So it isn't woke. That's not the issue. It's not exactly.
I think
one
what
level.
they're talking about is like similar types of behavior.
He is talking about that. Yeah, no.
But
What
it's
he's
just, woke just lets you clarify in your head. Oh, it's like that.
Yeah, but the problem is,
it's like
Antifa. Okay. Well, I think most people that have been using this woke right term, they mean these guys that scream anti-Semitism whenever you criticize Israel. I think that's a lot of where it's around, because they're behaving the same way that they're saying that these same guys are saying the blue-haired leftist kids are doing, or Antifa, right? Punch a Nazi, right? Remember all that shit? I think that's what most people are using as their definition of this woke right stuff, where they scream racism whenever you criticize them, right? Here we go.
yeah, absolutely. But the problem is
By the way, Jordan Peterson works at the Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro's 8. He's notorious. All right, he's the most blatant IQ test example. Look at you, all you do is scream racism. That's all you do. You scream racism, you woke lefties. Yeah, Ben, I think Israel's committing war crimes. Well, you're just anti-Semitic. Duh. Like, he's the most blatant example of it. And Jordan Peterson works for those motherfuckers. Just saying. Just saying. Now, if he had some balls, he'd call out the boss, you know? Is what it is. Anyways, here we go.
About that. Yeah, no, what he's point.
Oh, and also there are people that are trying to go that direct. Like, I think that's what Candace Owens is trying to live off of now. I think she's trying to make money off of that and kind of carve out a space for herself for a bigger career. So I think she's actually, in my humble opinion, I don't trust the lady, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's abusing the topic to win favor with the internet. And it's not really about righteousness, because these same problems have been happening for years. And then now she's talking about it. Maybe she quote unquote woke up. But she's got to do a lot more proving than me, and not focus on, and not tell me about RFK's blackmailing where you don't have the fucking evidence for it. He's being blackmailed by Israel. Look, he has a picture with Rabbi fucking Smuley. Like, okay? And why do you keep showing me the same fucking picture over and over, too? That works on some people. For me, it doesn't. Which is why I did all those videos. Like, I was like, basically mocking the whole the whole thing happening. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. In fact, it looks more like you're blackmailing RFK than fucking Mossad or someone. Not saying that's not possible. It's just like, what the evidence these two idiots gave me, Candace and Ian Carroll, these idiots gave me, the evidence they gave me is like, no, not good enough. Not good enough. Let's continue.
Lindsay is pointing at that, but he hasn't got the diagnosis exactly right. So it isn't woke. That's not the issue. It's not exactly.
I think
one
what
level.
they're talking about is like similar types of behavior.
He is talking about that. Yeah, no. What he's pointing.
Woke just lets you clarify in your head. Oh, it's like that.
Yeah, but the problem is
it's like Antifa.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is
Rogan's such a soccer mom.
That argument
watches the
is
View and shit.
predicated on the claim that the ideas are the problem, like the woke ideas, for example, on the right or the left. But that's not the problem. The problem is that 4 to 5% of the population, something like that, is cluster B, that's the DSM-5 terms, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, or they have dark tetrad traits, they're Machiavellian, they're sadistic. That's about 4%. Okay, so
I would never ever say that in my life. I don't care if there was a full-blown chart. Well, if there's a full-blown chart saying like this is the case. But in this world, there's no way I would ever say that ever in my life. To me, that's a batshit crazy thing to say, because I need to know who's defining the term. These like narcissistic or psychopathic, like who's defining these terms and how are they using it? What quote unquote tests are they running? Are they testing everyone? What are the tests? So, I think those are stupid. That's too much digging deep into someone's mind. Let's see, I would just go by just my you basically have to use your intuition. Forgive me, but you have to. Maybe some people are a little more tuned towards it, I don't know, maybe a little more in tune with their own psyches. Thus, maybe they can read things in other people. Maybe, but it's still kind of a hard thing to determine. So there's no way I'm saying, yeah, 5% of the population, yeah, they're psychopaths. I don't know if I could pull that off, but I would think there's gotta be some, right? I just sit back and watch and observe and wait for those IQ test moments before I say I straight up believe this. And I've done it before. You heard it already in this video. So, but whatever. Okay, this is his theory. Let's keep going.
Narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, or they have dark tetrad traits. They're Machiavellian. They're sadistic. That's about 4%. Okay, so the question is, how do these people maneuver? And the answer is they go to where the power is, and they adopt those ideas and they put themselves even on the forefront of that.
Right.
But the ideas are completely irrelevant.
Right.
All they're doing is they're the Pharisees. They're the modern version of the Pharisees. They're the people who use God's name in vain, right? As they proclaim moral virtue.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether it's right or left or Christian or Jewish or Islam. They invade the idea space, and then they use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yeah.
Now, call me a genius, but I think I've said that on this very YouTube channel a long fucking time ago, and I don't think it's some crazy new theory either. I mean, he's using, I guess, different words, Peterson, but I'll make fun of it. I'll be like, oh, there's like a George Bush in the room. There's a George Bush in the club. All right? How you get, like, hey, someone's going to buy up your ideas and sell them back to you and pretend they were about it the whole time. Meanwhile, they just want to be head honcho of the group and just lead you astray. That's the more nefarious version, right? Versus like someone who's just doing it for their own narcissistic reasons, although that's possible too. But I pointed more so about like someone with intentions behind it, like political intentions behind it. You know, provocateurs in a way, right? Of buying up your ideas. And once again, they're just words. That's why when I talk about Cenk Uygur, and he's like, well, you know, this is progressive, and this is the right wing. And he's like branding it like this means good and that means bad. Like, yo, anyone can say fucking words out loud. Anyone can say words. How do you try to find out if someone means it or not? If they're really about it? Right? That's a super duper important diagnosis to have. And we try to do that naturally, I think. Like, without even discussing it in our own psyches, we still behave that, and we behave that way, as in, like, we will look for someone that we believe. Right? Would all these people be supporting Bernie Sanders if they thought he didn't actually mean what he was saying? Which means they have to, in some part of their psyche, they feel as though they diagnosed that Bernie Sanders is legitimately in favor of these policies. I can't say what methods they used. I can't even say they used, like, you know, forefront of the mind, egotistical methods. It could just be subconscious. Oh, he looks like my dad. Oh, he looks like a dad or a grandpa. His voice sounds like he has conviction, so I believe him. Or whatever, right? That can all be happening subconsciously. Which means you are doing, on some level, calculations in regards to someone's intention or someone's the idea of their integrity or their authenticity. Right? Just like you're probably doing the opposite, too. Or not the opposite, but like the opposite type of person. Where it's like, oh, I don't believe that guy. Or that guy seems full of shit. Or that guy, he's a secret Republican. Get him out of here. It's a George W. Bush. Run. Run for your lives. Right? But these are phenomena I think we were already doing. But damn it, I forgot where I was going to go with that. Fuck. Hate when that happens. I have too many rabbit holes in my brain, bro. What do you want from me? But yeah, this idea that Peterson's saying, I've said many a times here. Many of times. And it's the same solution, just be authentic. But usually in political movements, right? Because he's talking about politics, right? Political psychopathology, I guess he's calling it. The study of political psychopathy or psychopathy. Okay. And he's talking about, like, my idea of the George Bush in your crew. Like, it's funny because I name it after George Bush, but it's essentially, you know, someone who's not there because of not really there on a political spectrum or in a politically meaningful way. Like I'm saying it could be there for politics, but in the sense of we could be here to subvert, or, you know, there is a version where it's like narcissism, right? I just want to be a leader. I want to be a face. You know, mommy didn't hug me enough, daddy didn't hug me enough, so I want to be a leader of a political group. It makes me feel powerful. For sure, these things happen. And I think they happen enough where I even, without having a PhD in anything, was saying this years ago. And that's why I was like, things like team playing can never be a thing for political thinking. It cannot. Because it shows nothing about merit in regards to the individual. Because if it's just about teams, anyone can buy a t-shirt, buy a hat, buy a sign, and wave it. Anyone can do that. But to showcase integrity, that isn't just for anyone. That means an individual has to be an individual to actually be that. They can't just buy a t-shirt or a hat and join the club. And once again, seemingly, a lot of times, you'll find people that are maybe like this thing that Jordan Peterson's talking about, or the George Bush thing that I'm talking about. A lot of these times, these guys become leaders. Because, let's be real, they're the loudest fucking mouths in the room. Right? If we're like, all right, we're all going to chain ourselves to the doorway and make sure no one can pass. This is our protest. They might get in there, chain themselves with you, and be the loudest screamer. Like, man, that guy screams really loud. He must care. Let's make him our leader. Then they get fucked over years later. They come back to YellBro. I'm like, well, you could just ask some simple questions. Maybe you wouldn't be in this situation right now. As I sip my wine, you know? If you would have listened to YellBro, you know, you'd be fine right now. No, I'm trolling. But at the same time, these things have happened before. Anyways, okay. Let's see if he draws out this theory. Let's see where it goes, and then we'll find out if it's really similar to my idea, or if it's something different, something unique. Hopefully, in a positive way. You know, something helpful and allows people to like think deeper about. Granted, it'll be difficult to pull off while you work for the Daily Wire. Right? That'll look bad because people would probably accuse them of doing that. Or at the very least, Ben Shapiro, right? Where he adopted the woke laugh, the woke. Right? Adopted their whole worldview, and then when something goes down, an event happens, he has to try to mind melt the audience and towards his direction. Right? And it's just like, ooh, looks terrible. It looks contradictory to the previous statements of what your like political grounds are, your political moral grounds are. But anyways, let's keep going. Let's hear them out.
They invade
almost
the
done,
idea
folks.
space,
I'm almost done rambling.
and then
Don't worry.
use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yes.
And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more, particularly because the left had to face it when they were in powers.
Yes.
How do you identify the psychopathic parasites? 4% of the population
Parasites.
who are
Jesus
clothed in
Christ.
your clothing and
Right.
waving your flags,
Right.
but who are only in it for narcissistic benefit.
Well, you know, listen. I think my term is nicer, bro. Instead of some sort of parasite, I just say, oh, George W. Bush. It's just to say someone who actually has kind of, what's the word, like antithetical notions than you do in regards like your like the core reasons, right? If your whole core thing is about, it may come out in political terms like policies or something like that, but the main point is to do something moral, right? I want to make the world a better place. And you can have some motherfucker walk in there, take over the joint, who gives zero fucks about helping other people. Straight up. We have seen this before. If you've been engaging in politics, just even on the internet, your life, at any point in your life, I'm sure you've come across these types. They exist. Shout out to Matt Hunter. I'm trolling, Matt. Don't cry, bro. Don't cry. It's all good, man. Don't cry. Luckily, his arguments are so dog shit that no one falls for it. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I think that's a worthy theory to approach. It's just, I wonder what lens he comes from. Is it going to actually tie into... Like, there's no way he's accusing Dave Smith of being that, right? Because when I saw... Once again, when I saw that podcast, bro, that Douglas Murray was the viper in the room. Rogan was doing everything to try to make it nice, right? He'd laugh at his jokes extra hard for some reason, even though they're not even that funny. but he'd laugh like really hard just to be like, "Hey guys, we're all friends, right?" Douglas Murray's like, "No, I'm here. I'm here for work, Joe, not for play. I'm here on behalf of whatever the fuck that guy is, whatever that guy's up to." But yeah, I think this was a kind of an important thing to cover, and I appreciate Jordan Peterson bringing up psychology. It's just, damn, man. I think you need more than just theories and shit. I think you need, what's his name? Is it Nassim? Fuck, I forgot his last name, bro. This guy who brings up the idea of intelligence, but puts it in regards to having skin in the game. Is it Taleb? Is it Nassim Taleb? That might be his name. Fuck. But he brings up an idea. Once again, I'm not an expert. I'm the guy. I heard that notion. I was like, that's interesting. The idea of like real intelligence, which is what? Skin in the game. All right? So you can bring up psychological theories, but they have to be practiced. Like truly practiced. Without bias. Otherwise, first of all, you're not being very scientific. And in simple terms, you're not being very intelligent. Because we will never know if your theory is correct or not if you're hiding it from other people and using it on other people. Right? It loses weight. It loses that main factor, which is what? I guess results. And the results you want is more of an understanding. And you can't get understanding by, kind of censoring half the world from yourself. Or censoring your friends out. Or your family out. It has to be universal for it to be really life-changing. That's the way these things work, in my humble opinion. I'm not an expert. Have you been there? That shit's funny, man. Yeah, but have you been there? It's like, yeah, shut the fuck. Where's the locker? Stuff this fool in the fucking locker, bro. Shut up. But, yeah. Interesting topic, man. But my advice to Jordan Peterson, skin in the game. Philosophy means nothing unless there's skin in the game. Science means nothing without skin in the game. None of it means anything without skin in the game. And it doesn't mean you need to run around the world, practice it out, use other people and all that shit. You could do it simply in a chair, just thinking and pondering without, really digging into the ideas. Keeping it authentic. And if something enters your life that might apply this theory to something, like where you can apply the theory, be authentic. If you see your theory being able to apply to it, you must do it. Skin in the game. Define the real results. Define the real, maybe my theory's wrong. Or maybe it's maybe it's reinforced as correct right now because of this particular situation. Maybe it's individual by individual. Maybe it's less about groupthink and more about individuals. And if it's more about individuals, we can dig deeper into the individuals and be like, okay, how are they raised? Where'd they grow up? Even the dumb fuck genetic shit. What's their genetics like? Leave all questions open for yourself. But if you start narrowing things down and focusing on, I don't know, Jake Shields or something, or fucking Nick Fuentes, and not applying it everywhere, then you are, to me, it's like you'll never get the right answer until it's universally applied authentically. But there you go. There's your video. Subscribe if you like. Comment. Agree, disagree. Tell me what you think. I think that's true. It's true, Jordan Peterson. I think. Yeah, tell me what you think. Do you think let's ask several things. Do you think Peterson's here to to maybe mind melt Joe because of the whole he's protecting Douglas Murray or something, or Sam Harris? Do you think he's trying to peddle an idea? Do you think he's just here, honestly being here and wanting to actually talk about theories, and maybe the Douglas Murray thing sparked something for him? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Tell me what you think about my theories or my argument I just had with Ghost. Let me know. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down.
say you wanna get in, and then you wanna get out. When you get the money to buy yourself a castle, how will you wear your leisure? You zipper back and front on the fence together. Weekends in leather, flip to the right and slip back to the left. For handshakes to the ranch and small talk at the crossroads, driving up to the ladder and sucking on